Hi there, and welcome to my channel and welcome to my local woods. This video has two parts, and in the first part I will talk about I guess you could call it a philosophical concept that I feel is useful and very important, especially in these difficult times. And in the second part is more of a practical. It's a bit of information, especially to the pet owners out there. I live in Norway, if you didn't know, and we used to be so-called heathens here. And hold on, my water is boiling. Yeah, I like to have a cup of chocolate coffee. Skål. There are some important concepts that I believe comes from that tradition, and one of those concepts is it can be explained actually in one sentence. The fight is the price. Does that make any sense? The fight itself is the price. It's, of course, we want to win a fight and so on, but okay, let me explain. So what do I mean when I say that the fight is the price, or the reward is in the fight itself? I guess you've heard mountain climbers, they say that very often when they reach a summit, it's not that great, then they will start looking for an even higher or more difficult mountain to climb. There is a sense of fulfillment and meaning in being in a fight or being in a struggle. And I think that if we apply that way of thinking now, when most people are struggling because of this, because of certain things, inflation and so on, if we can realize, first of all, that we are actually in a fight, and I'll get back to that as well, but also realize that being given this fight is something that we should almost be grateful for, because it's an opportunity. Now we get to show who we are. Are you someone who will just give up, or are you a fighter? I get sad when I see people, especially they will be writing in the comments and so on, all sorts of nonsense, but honor is a real thing. And if you can get through this fight that we are in now with honor, you will win no matter the outcome. When I was for a few years, I did Muay Thai, and my trainer, one of the first things he said to me was that when he went into one of these fights, at a very high level, he knew that he was not going to lose. He didn't know if he was going to win, but he knew that he was not going to lose. Think about that for a few seconds. It's quite deep, isn't it? To someone who lived in this area 1,000 years ago, or even before that, how that person would be remembered was extremely important. He wanted to be remembered as someone who was trustworthy, loyal, strong, and someone who did not flee from the fight, someone who stood in that fight with honor. Yes, actually, honor. And I think that's a word we need to take back, because that is as well a very important concept. And I'll probably talk about that in another video. I believe that we are now in a transition phase towards a new form of feudalism. Yes, actually, feudalism. And I've called it Feudalism 2.0. And I guess you've heard the slogan from the World Economic Forum: you will own nothing and you will be happy. You won't be that happy, but there certainly is a push towards getting people away from ownership and into a form of living where they don't really own anything. And that's something that we need to fight. If you're going to have a chance to win a fight, first you will have to realize that you are actually in a fight. And most people, they fail at that. They fail at realizing that they are actually in a fight. And to win a fight, you should also have some goals. What is it that you want? What outcome do you want? For me, freedom, the right to own my own stuff, the right to own my own house and car and boat and so on. These things are important to me. The right to travel, the right for free expression. These things are essential, and I'm ready to fight for those things. I see a lot of what I would call a defeatist attitude these days. People will say something that, oh, you don't really own anything, and what's the point? And now that we have actually a threat of nuclear disaster, I remember very well, I'm old enough to remember very well, sorry, it's a bit cold here, very well that that day when the Chernobyl disaster, and if something like that happens again, and it could, because of the situation in Ukraine right now, I will fight. I will not just lie down and say that, well, there is nothing I can do. Well, even in the most difficult situation, there is something you can do. There is always something you can do. And I hate that defeatist attitude. I hate it, because it goes against everything I believe in. So never forget that the fight is the prize here. I think our ancestors, our Norse ancestors here, they got it right. They understood a lot about life and death. Maybe, well, there are times, well, oftentimes, most of the time, I think that they were much wiser than we are today. So, that concludes the first part of this video, and I will now move on to some practical information, especially for pet owners. Hi there. Now, this part of the video is actually not a paid promotion or anything like that, but I just wanted to add some information to the pet owners out there, because some time ago I made a video about the equipment that I had bought for myself and my family in case of a nuclear or chemical disaster. I live in Norway, and I remember the Chernobyl disaster, and Norway was actually one of the yeah. Norway was one of the countries that was hit the hardest by that toxic cloud that traveled north. So this segment of this video is informational. This is a pet ark, and the question a lot of you guys and girls had, was what do I do with my dog or my cat and so on if something like that happens. Keep in mind that at least here in Norway, your dog, your cat will not be allowed into a bomb shelter. You need to figure out where to go if something like that happens. There are private shelters prepared for a nuclear disaster. They do exist, and some people will try to travel away from that toxic cloud. I can't remember if it's like 14 or 16 hours. If they blow up one of the nuclear reactors in Chernobyl, I think the worst case scenario is that we have a 14 or 16 hour window to get away or to get into a shelter. Now this device here is where you put your pet, and it will be fully enclosed, and you will have a battery powered filter with that filters air going into this device here. You know, if your dog urinates or worse in there, it will have to stay there with the pet. You have to put water in there and hope for the best. And if you put this device here in your car, you put your pet in the ark, and you close it. You switch this device here on. Now I haven't attached the canisters here. There are two of them, because when you open these, there's they last longer when you keep them wrapped in plastic like this. So, but they go, they are screwed into this here. So this is not for everyone, but this is for those of you who will not abandon your pet. This is for those of you who are willing to rather travel or to get away and to somewhere where you can keep your pet with you. Now, of course, for big dogs, this will be a little bit small, I guess. We have quite big dogs, but I really hope that Mira, the company that makes these, will make bigger ones. This is what they have now, and it's better than nothing. What else can I say? Don't put your questions about this in the comment section for me to answer. It is much better that you go to the website and read more about this there. I do think that I have assembled everything correctly, but this is not an instructional video. It's just me saying that yes, as an answer to your questions, I did actually find something for pets in case of a nuclear disaster. Of course, your pet can't stay in there forever. So this is something that will buy you time, and it will enable you to take your pet with you and travel to somewhere safer. So yeah, and you know, there will be trolls in the comments, you know, what's the point, and so on and so on. I don't care. For me, this is something that I felt it was well spent money, and yeah, I don't regret buying this. And also it's one of those cases where you kind of it's like this, you know, you hope that you will never have to use it, you know, you kind of hope that it was wasted money. Now I will say this, lots of people told me that you just wasted your money concerning my kit for you know, nuclear chemical disaster that I bought. Well, I wish you people had been right about that. But sadly, I have actually used it. I used the mask because I was, out of privacy reasons and so on, I can't get into details there, but I was able to secure a building from a very large fire because I had that mask. And if I hadn't had such a mask, I would just have, you know, I don't know, maybe that building would have burnt down, but it was quite dramatic, and I'm very glad that I had such a gas mask, because I was able to prevent that building from catching fire. So yeah, I already have used that kit actually.